Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and yes, another video talking about physical media and why is 4K so expensive. There is a lot of people out there that just collect Blu-ray. I'm somebody that collects a little bit of both, but if I can get 4K, I'd rather get 4K. But with 4K being more of a premium format in terms of, more spatial audio aspects, DTS:X and Dolby Atmos, and not to mention HDR with HDR10 as a standard on every 4K, and in some cases, of course, get HDR10 plus films as well as Dolby Vision, it is a much more premium format, and it is upcharged a lot in comparison to Blu-ray. I've got a few different formats here of 4Ks. We got the most premium, the Steelbook of a 4K. This is the latest Captain America one, of course, for Brave New World. Retails for $34.99, this Steelbook does. A very premium edition there. We also then have some just some normal Blu-ray releases. Mickey 17, another one that came out very recently. $24.99 for the standard 4K here of this. That is the going rate. Then you've got other labels like boutique labels. So Criterion, of course, Anora being the big 4K release that we had a couple of weeks ago. $29.99 a standard Criterion this cost here. And then of course you get some other stuff then when you get more discs and you get some more content, they charge a bit more. So TV shows, of course, this one here, I think it was $39.99 for Doom Prophecy. This is just a standard Blu-ray as well. I think the Steelbook was about $45. So there's a lot of different formats that you can get 4K, but the prices of these are very different. For instance, Mickey 17 on a Blu-ray retails for $14.99. The same here for Captain America, of course. One thing to note with Steelbooks, though, is they don't really make Blu-ray Steelbooks anymore. They used to, of course, but more often than not now, if you want a Steelbook, you need to get a 4K. Whereas, of course, if you're just an Blu-ray collector, you can pay £10 more to get 4K versus the standard Blu-ray of this film. So why is it more expensive? Why is, not even just, these are obviously all from HMV, ZAVVI, or wherever you get your new stuff from. Why are 4K so expensive? And what started me getting into this video idea, to be honest, was actually a pickup I made from CEX. I paid £12 for a used copy of Robin Hood on 4K, which, again, you don't see this often, especially in this, condition and all of that. But when I was in CEX, I noticed the standard Blu-ray for Robin Hood in CEX was 50p. So you've got this 4K here being £12 used, and then you've got the film on Blu-ray being 50p. Why is this £11.50 more expensive in the used market versus, of course, 50p? Well, there's a few things there. HMV are a problem in that sense. Blu-rays in HMVs, for instance, get reduced heavily. I recently picked up Child's Play here for $3.99, reduced very heavily. So if they are selling this brand new for $3.99 in their sale, CEX will look at that and think, well, if they're selling for $3.99, really, we should sell it for $3, if not less. Because it's a used copy. Sometimes, of course, CEX don't do that because, well, they just don't. But they should really, that's how they should be thinking. Whereas, of course, with 4Ks, we never really see that level of reductions. The cheapest 4Ks you can really get on sale and stuff at HMV is things like this with a $9.99 with any purchases. $9.99 tends to be the cheapest 4Ks I've ever seen, really, in HMV. I do have some examples of HMV selling things for a lot cheaper than $9.99. Got the Smurfs 2 here for $3.50. Got the Smurfs The Lost Village, the third film there, for $3.50. I've also got Groundhog Day there for $4.99, and I've also got then Hotel Transylvania for $3.50. But this was a very niche situation in terms of the big sale, that they were getting rid of a lot of things. But this doesn't happen that often, and I think these films didn't have to be this heavily reduced, in my opinion, if they did more sales, if they put more things on. And that's my question. I don't really know the answer to say in this video. It's more of a sparking something down in the comments, hopefully, is why don't HMV do more 4K sales? I know the 3 for $50 is on now, but I don't think that's enough. I feel like the problem with 3 for $50, what it does is it basically makes a film £16 each. So let's just say, for instance, Robin Hood is in the 3 for $50, Hacksaw Ridge is in the 3 for $50, and let's just say Dark Crystal. All are in the 3 for $50. £16, £16, £16, right? Let's just say, hypothetically. CEX will look at this and think, well, £12 is a good price for Robin Hood then. It's £4 less. than the 16 that you would get in the multi-buy. And also, if it's not in the 3 for 50, it'll be 20 quid. So a standard price, 20 quid down to 12. Yeah, great. Same with this one. There's no reason for them to go to like these level of prices and to be so different to like the Blu-ray that's 50 pence, because the Blu-ray being 50 pence might be because HMV are selling it for $1.99, $2.99 in the bargain bin currently. I don't know. You know, I'm just saying. So that's the problem, I think, with 4K. There's a real problem with, you know, HMV are not reducing the things enough, which I think is then giving a spiral effect into things like CEX and certain titles being so expensive. You know, you walk into there now and, you know, it's 20 quid for certain titles. And you're just like, why is that £20? It's the same price brand new, if not more expensive, because it's actually, you know, cheaper in the 3 for 50. So there's a real problem with the price of 4K, in my opinion. And I think what will happen is if they don't do more regular sales, we're going to see more of this, to be honest. We are going to see more of this, which is a good thing, but it's also not a good thing because these are too cheap. Like, these could have, I think if these were reduced more regularly down to like maybe a $6.99 or $8.99 or $7.99, people would still buy them. But I just think they're not doing as much sales, and then all of a sudden then they're like, shoot, we've got so much stock, we now need to sell this for $3.50 because we just need to get rid of it as quick as possible because we cannot hold it in our stores anymore and stuff like that. Then you got the problem with like things like, as I say, steelbooks. You know, there's a real problem in the whole debate of when do you buy a steelbook. You know, there's been times where I think the Signs one, there was a couple I filmed recently where you can get 3 steelbooks for £50 because they've reduced them into the 3 for 50 bit now, which is good to see that. That's a real good improvement in terms of reducing stuff that's in stores, and steelbook especially, into that deal, because I think it makes, you know, it's much more of a sale. So that's a good thing that they're doing. And then of course you've got things like, which is the, you know, the new Blu-ray releases, like how often and how long will it take for Mickey 17 here to get in that 3 for 50? I probably think about 2-3 months, to be honest. So for some people, they're like, I'll just wait 8 weeks. 8 weeks time, it'll just be in the 3 for 50, happy days, and I'll be laughing at everyone that's paid 25 quid for a full price. So there's a real problem with the whole price of 4K, I think, in terms of, it's a knock-on effect then in terms of with the used prices, with CEX, and then now obviously it affects things like Vinted and eBay and stuff like that. But I really think that it starts with HMV and the main retailers, of course, Zavvi and stuff. It really starts with them. I think they need to run more sales, and then that will be a knock-on effect, because otherwise they're just going to be getting into the same situation again, as I say, where they're going to have to throw things out the door basically for really cheap prices. Do you agree with me there? Is there anything across the pond maybe in America or Europe that you have the same situation in different stores? I just don't think there's enough sales happening for 4K, and it's, you know, it's causing a bit of a rift then in terms of one 4K being £12 in the used market versus then 50 pence, of course, for the standard Blu-ray. It doesn't really add up. You know, why is this £11.50 more expensive? I don't understand. And I think the only thing that CEX, in fairness to them, are looking at is the brand new price, of course. And if it's already 16 quid to 20 quid, obviously, from the 350 or the standalone price, then 12 quid for them is still a good price. But I still think that's still a little bit expensive in comparison to that 50 pence Blu-ray. Why is it worth that much? I don't know. So there it is. I don't know the answer, of course. Let me know your thoughts down below. I would really like to have a bit of a discussion about this. Hopefully it can create a bit of a conversation down there, and I'll reply to everyone's comments. And hopefully you guys agree with me, or you feel similar to how I feel. I just feel like the levels are too much. It just needs to be brought down a little bit. Yes, it's more expensive, but it needs to not have as big of a gap. That's my only thing. But there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Of course, stay tuned for more videos coming soon. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.